Fingal comprises approximately the northern half of the traditional Irish county of Dublin, and nowadays Fingal has its very own county council. The Fingal Coastal Way or Greenway is a major project undertaken by this council. Make no doubt about it, the Fingal Coastal Way is an amazing project. A pedestrian and cyclist route is planned that will encompass the entire coast of Fingal, from Donabate in the south to Gormanston on the Meath border in the north. The declared aims are to make this a safe route for both pedestrians and cyclists. Already completed sections of this Fingal Coastal Way can be visited between Malahide and Portmarnock. Routing this greenway presents many challenges, and it is obvious that a lot of planning has gone into the completed sections. This short video focuses on a very real concern we have about one section of the proposed route. This is the grassy stretch along Skerries South Beach, reaching from the brook at the southern end to the Dorn on the northern end. This is an amenity area used by people of all ages for recreational purposes. The simple path created along the South Beach by Fingal County Council sees people of all ages engaged in relaxed strolling as well as energetic jogging. The grassy area is used by children playing, swimmers and surfers preparing for the water, families having picnics. It is an area where people crisscross the existing path on their way to and from the beach. This is definitely not an area that is suitable for any form of traffic. In fact, from the very beginning, Fingal County Council very wisely prohibited cycling on this path, and for obvious reasons. Those of us who regularly walk this path know the fright we receive when a cyclist breaks the rules and whizzes silently but not any less dangerously past us. During the long days of lockdown, this simple path offered a wonderful place to have a daily walk at a safe distance from others. Unfortunately, and to our surprise, as information about the proposed greenway was released, early signs were that Fingal County Council was considering adding cyclists to the path along the South Beach. The illustration is from their brochure. There are indeed some locations where cyclists and pedestrians may need to share narrow spaces. If this space is 3 metres, as indicated on the Fingal County Council literature, then there would of course be a very heavy onus on cyclists to move very slowly past pedestrians. Whatever the design specifications for shared paths in general, however, the green amenity area presents a very different situation. The width of the existing footpath ranges from 1.9 to 2.4 metres and is mostly 2 metres. This provides sufficient space for 2 people to walk side by side, but not really enough for other people passing. To extend the width to 3 metres would help accommodate the existing pedestrian users, but it would become very worrying if cyclists were allowed to use the same path, even if supposedly segregated. Bicycle traffic this close to pedestrians would be dangerous for both pedestrians and cyclists. However, we are not talking merely about a simple path that is shared by people doing exercise on foot or on bike. Here we are talking about an amenity area where people stroll and kids play. there is a strongly unpredictable component where people stick out arms, run across paths, chase dogs, and so on. Other already existing parts of the Fingal Greenway have a totally different character. In many places there is a clear separation of the pedestrian and cyclist areas. Many of these sections of the Greenway are frequented by exercisers, on foot or on bicycle. They have clear, reasonably predictable movements with a stronger awareness of each other's space. Skerries South Beach Amenity area is totally different in that it has a higher proportion of strollers as well as people of all ages relaxing and playing in the grassy areas. It is a pathway through an existing leisure area. It is not a good place for traffic. In fact, the National Transport Authority, Údarás Náisiúnta Iompar, has published helpful guidelines for cyclists on its Cycle Manual website. The Transport Authority makes it very clear that shared facilities between pedestrians and cyclists generally result in reduced quality of service for both modes and should not be considered as a first option. They go on to state that shared facilities should be avoided in urban areas as far as possible. Whatever cautions might be said about urban areas must be greatly amplified in the context of amenity areas. The National Transport Authority is very clear. The principles of sustainable safety, when applied to cyclists and pedestrians, would suggest that both modes should be segregated whenever possible. They continue to say that cycling in proximity to people is not recommended and is incompatible with pedestrian activity. It is very difficult, they go on to say, to provide clear cycle routes or zones through pedestrian areas without increasing the risk of collision. In Skerries South Beach amenity area, we are not simply talking about pedestrians, but about children playing, people running back and forward to the beach, lots and lots of unpredictable behaviour. The message from the National Transport Authority, interested in the safety of both cyclists and pedestrians, is very clear. Cycling in proximity to people is generally incompatible with the pedestrian activity. It is better to provide an alternative cycle route. An alternative route or segregation is preferable. In the case of Skerries South Beach, safer alternatives are indeed available for cyclists. In spite of submissions made to Fingal County Council expressing concerns based on the depiction of a cyclist on what appeared to be the Skerries South Beach, more recent drawings reveal the continued presence of cyclists in this plan. For some reason, they are a little harder to spot in the more recently published drawing. And there is a suggestion that they might move along at a leisurely pace, something that does not tally with our experience of cyclists on this path. The fundamental question I ask you is if you want to have bicycles whizzing past you on your footpath. Unfortunately, a path that is marked for cyclists does not offset the possibility of accidents with pedestrians. Is this really what we want? Even if the cycle path were separated from the footpath, the fact remains that this is an amenity area with people moving about randomly. All along the South Beach, there are other options that will be safe for cyclists and pedestrians alike. Even if cyclists were to use this street, it has relatively little vehicular traffic. In the past, Fingal County Council knew to forbid cycling in this amenity area. The danger has not changed in any way. If you believe in the message of this video, please share the links to it with all your friends, and in particular with all the public representatives you can reach. Fingal County Council has always been attentive to public views, and especially when people with local knowledge can point out dangers that can be avoided. No matter how far advanced the plans are, let's hope that we can keep our South Beach amenity area safe. Let's have a greenway, one that is safe for everybody.